And people are going to have their own dark nights of the soul when they come to that place and they look at themselves and they just say, oh, shit, it was all for nothing. Okay? And I know lots of people who are going through that right now, especially men. They did all the right things, said all the right things, worked all the right jobs, dedicated themselves, gave themselves away, all to find themselves completely empty. And they're having to look at that. And they're having to realize everything that they had been taught, much of it, wasn't what it's about at all. It's not what it's about. It's going to bug the men the most. Ladies, you're already so intuitive. You're just, I know, I told you so. Yeah, I already hear it. I told you so. Okay. So I said it for you. Okay? But the guys now, the guys are going to have to reach down deep inside of ourselves, and we're going to have to look for that intuitive piece. We're going to have to learn to trust that intuition and not just our ability to mentally strategize everything that's going to happen in the world. Well, if this happens, I can do that. If that happens, I can do this. If these two things happen, well, I can do that. But then there's this, so I need to compensate for that. I mean, we make ourselves crazy doing this, okay? Because we haven't really learned to get to that place inside where we just learn to trust the flow. Because we've not embraced the flow in a very long time. Now, I don't necessarily mean the gentleman in the group here, okay? But I am talking about the outside world. There are a lot of people really struggling because they've done all the right things and they cannot understand why it doesn't work, okay? And they're blaming God, they're blaming their relationships, they're blaming everything, the government. And it isn't any of that. It's just that we've been on the wrong path and we've been building the wrong kind of life. And now we have an opportunity to do something different. But, well, it's not a but. But what we need to do, though, is we need to focus on what is it that we want to create. What does a planet of peace look like? What does a planet without war look like? Do we still want to have a planet that has a monetary system? Do we want a planet where there are no pharmaceutical companies? We just use natural ways of healing, color, light, and sound. You know, these are not overnight transitions, but it's a preparation. And those of us who have gotten it and have been talking about it for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, you're now finding yourselves coming to a clearing, and there are going to be people waiting for you saying, how did you know? Can you teach me everything? I need to know now everything. Because our survival instinct is so strong. And we realize that the system we have isn't working. It's coming apart. And we're blessed that it hasn't happened all at once, that we can take this gradually. But it is happening. Okay? The blinds are being lifted. People are coming out of their comas. And this is what it's about. And it's happening in all walks of life. Let's take the 2012 scenario for a moment. Let's suppose there was going to be a pole shift. Okay, this is strictly a hypothetical, all right? And it's an interesting lesson, exercise. Let us suppose for a moment that there was going to be a pole shift, and half of the world's population was going to be gone. That the world could only sustain half. And the government came out forward and said, hey, this is really what's going to happen. And we've been preparing ourselves. We built our underground facilities. Sorry, they're not for you. We've been building bases on the moon and Mars. Sorry, they're not for you. And we have all this advanced technology, but there's no point giving it to you because all this is going to happen to the planet. You're on your own. Not that they would ever, ever be that honest. Okay? Okay? Well, let's just suppose. So let's suppose you now knew for a fact that we had a year and a half to 2 years. No one knew who was going to make it. You didn't know where the safe places were. What would you do different with your life? What would you do with those last 2 years? Would you start selling real estate? Right? Would you become an artist? Would you allow yourself to fall in love again? Would you allow yourself to give forgiveness that you've been denying someone? Would you want to heal old relationships? Would you want to write a book? Would you want to travel? Would you want to learn to swim? I mean, whatever. What would you do differently if you knew you had 2 years? Now, I'm talking about as a planet. Now, individually, people face these realities every day through disease, cancer, and the such. You know, and they're the bravest people in the world because they know. They've been given a diagnosis that's terminal. Many don't die, but others do. But they live with that every day. And every day, they have the courage to get up and keep doing whatever it is that they want to do. What would we do differently as a society, as a global planet? This is not just an American issue. This is a planetary issue. And I have to tell you, the extraterrestrials don't see us as Russians, Chinese, Americans, Japanese. They don't see any of that. We are one race. Irregardless of our differences and our languages, we are one race to them. Only we don't believe that. We're the only ones who don't believe that. Okay? What would we do differently? What would you do with your life? How would you live it? Would you be the most benevolent person you know? Would you go the other way? You know? Would you be a gangster? You know? Would you sing love ballads or would you sing rap? You know, everybody... The reason I ask this is that the future isn't set. Now there's talk, I heard something recently about a star going nova. That's about 3,200 light years from us. Don't worry about that. There is more than enough help here that that's not how it's going to go for us. Okay? That's not going to happen. I mean, it may go nova, but technology exists, and there are plenty of resources in our particular solar system right now to ensure that that's not how we're going to end. Okay? Because there are a lot of people very, very curious about us. Now, the reason I say that is that we are a planet that has 22 very specific genetic markers. Okay? We are a collection, a collage, a compendium of many different extraterrestrial races living together. This is not common out there. Okay? Especially in third density in a very complex ecosystem like we have. Okay? It's not, there aren't that many. And they're here to watch us because we are, as a civilization, at a place where many of them have been before. And that is that we are spiritually evolving. At the same time, we have created technology that we barely know how to contain and use. The technology was created in a space of fear. Those using it, holding it, maintaining it, controlling it, are in a space of fear. Humanity, however, is at a space where it's beginning to step out of that reality to create something new.